Today, I have a guest who is a man of many parts and wears a lot of hats. It's a medical doctor, a writer, an author, used to be a newspaper columnist, a politician, and a former member of the House of Representatives. Was formerly the president of the Association of Nigerian Authors and is currently the Secretary General and the Chief Executive Officer of the Pan-African Writers Association that is based in Accra, Ghana. Well, that's power. I am delighted to welcome to Inside Sources Dr. Wale Okediran. Doctor, it's good to see you in Abuja.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming.
Thanks for inviting me.
All right, so it's a conversation on the future of Nigeria.
Yes.
So I would normally ask my guests, and I'd like to ask you that if you look at where Nigeria is today, where do you think we are going?
Yes. But thank you. I agree with you that it's nice to do some stock taking at this moment in Nigeria, particularly with all that is happening around us. Inflation is there. You have some poverty. You have, from the medical point of view, cases of malnutrition and all these things happening among our children. And then, of course, the problem of insurgency, of banditry is still there. And I agree with you that sometimes when you look at this, you get worried about the future of the country. It's a very challenging period. My own take on this is that, well, this is happening, and we have two options. One is to give up. One is to continue to look for solutions. And I believe that as a country, our future depends on how we can survive all that is happening around us. Some people will tell you that, well, what is happening is not limited to Nigeria. That is, the economy is bad all over the world. Inflation is everywhere, and things are happening. They will give you example of Gaza. They give you example of Ukraine, and all the wars that are happening around us. But I still believe that Nigeria, if you look at where we are coming from, we would have expected a great improvement, and not something like we are either a stagnation or even you call it a backsliding in our affairs. So for me, I think all of us need to put on our thinking caps to see what we can do. I keep saying this because of my nature of my job now. I'm in charge of writers in 54 African countries, and I travel a lot around the continent. I see what is happening. I see that some countries that are not as buoyant as Nigeria have a peaceful environment. Some are poorer than Nigeria, but they are still peaceful. So we need to borrow from our other countries and see how they are doing their stuff that is making them to be surviving in a good way. At the same time, we also need to listen to our people and see where they need to. We need to listen to them and hearken to their calls wherever they do so. Look at what they are asking for. You want to reduce the inflation. You want to improve security. You want to improve power supply. I just came back from a stay in Morocco, where 80% of the power supply is from solar energy. These are some of the things we need to look at. How can an African country be able to survive on solar?
So do they even use solar for the industries?
Yes, they do. Yeah, I was surprised myself when I said, you use it. Yes, that once you have enough power from solar, then you have a way of setting it through some batteries.
Okay.
That
like inverters?
Yes, high power batteries and co that can carry all these things.
Wow.
They use almost everything on solar. So these are some of the things we need to learn from our African brothers. We don't even need to go to Europe before we learn this.
Yeah. It's interesting. Thank you for those opening comments. And by the very nature of your current job as the Secretary General of the Pan-African Writers Association, you are based in Accra.
Yes.
So we have the opportunity to even look at the continental dimensions. Do you think that if Nigeria were to maintain the claim that we are the giant of Africa, are we then, do we fit the claim currently?
Well, for me, you see, when we look at our size and look at our economy, I mean, for example, I think the last statistics I read, that Nigeria, I think we are still among the best 5 strongest economy in Africa. Yes.
We used to be number one.
Number one, yes. And then again, I think among the highest IMF in debtors, Nigeria is not among the first 10. So we look at that and say, okay, maybe that's fine. But then we come back and say, oh, power supply is not good at all. Security is not good at all. And these are some of the areas where we need to really work on our country, because power supply alone can give you a big turnaround. I mean, constant regular power supply. For example, Ghana is not as rich as Nigeria, but because of their relatively stable power supply, a lot of people have access to doing something to do.
Right.
The low-income earners can run their businesses. Maybe it's cold storage they are dealing with, or they are doing iron melting, or even ordinary mechanic work. Work continues till late at night. And then because there's power supply, the street lights are on in the night, it also helps security. No dark patches. So these are some of the areas we need to work on, so that if we want to really call ourselves Giant of Africa, we really need to do all these things. We still have the population on our side.
Yeah.
We have the economy on our side. The economy of Lagos State alone is bigger than Ghana, the whole of Ghana. So we have the resources. If only we can tighten our belt and do and solve all these problems.
Good. So what do you think is responsible for the fact that we have not actualized ourselves, that we are still struggling with electricity supply, that we still have a lot of poverty? And one of the things that I am really, that really worries me is the level of poverty.
Yes.
It's quite appalling.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you think is what factors do you think are most responsible for the fact that we are not where we ought to be?
Yes.
Because seems that's what.
Yeah. I think the first thing I would say is the approach to the economy, the decision to take care of the decision to increase the fuel price.
Well, you mean that's the subsidy removal?
Subsidy removal, yes. That first one. And because we know that fuel is required for almost everything we did.
Yeah.
So that subsidy removal was the first thing that really knocked us down. Whatever the economists may say has a long-term benefit.
Right.
The initial, the short-term benefit was a bit grueling on our people. And then again, I still believe that the corruption is still a big issue.
Yeah.
Because people say it, I can't confirm it, that almost as high as 30% of our national income is in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
Is generated by corruption.
I will say more than 30%.
Okay. Especially when I was coming here, the driver I wanted to use, the car had a fault. So I had to take a Bolt car. So as soon as we entered Guzape, and the fellow just laughed. I would say, oh, these are beautiful buildings here. He said, sir, they are our money. It's all built by our money. So the perception out there,
of course,
is that the corruption is so high that it's causing a lot of problem. And then, of course, I mentioned it before, power supply, because that one, is when you have a country where you have to generate your own power supply by yourself, you have to, some companies cannot cope, some businesses, hotels, 24 hours on the generator, buying diesel at an alarming rate. So these are the issues for me that have already, that are compounding our problems.
Right.
And then when that happens, our people lose their humanity. People do anything they want to do. I came in from Lagos yesterday by air. Almost every point in the airport, people are trying to get something from you. You go to use the toilet, you want to wash your hand before you know somebody is trying to pour water on your hand, trying to trying to pour soap on your hand, and then we want to give you tissue paper to clean your hand, and just because they want to get something from you. And so it was
that a lot too.
Yeah. So it's such a depressing. I'm not saying that poverty is limited to Nigeria. I mean, when I travel through West Africa and East Africa, I see a lot of poverty around. But for me, Nigeria, with our substantial resources, we shouldn't be in this class.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I agree with you entirely now.
Yes.
So you have been in politics between 1999 and 2003.
Yes.
You are a federal representative.
Yes.
In the constituency in Oyo State.
Exactly.
So you did quite a bit of politics.
Yes.
Now, how much of the responsibility for where we are today do you think we should ascribe to politicians?
Well, a substantial part of it, because whatever we say, leadership, you have to take responsibility. Even though, if I want to be a little, go into more details, you will also see that when you are contesting for an election, yes, your constituents sometimes give you a lot of pressure. Their expectations from you as a representative is high. They expect you to take care of almost all the things they need. They want to go for pilgrimage, you have to be there. They want to complete their house, their car broke down, they want to give their child into wedding and give away their child for a wedding. So you will see that a typical representative is under pressure from his constituents. And they don't want to know because they believe that they voted for you. At the same time, as a leader, I think it's also your duty to educate people and let them know how much you can deliver. At the other spectrum, we have politicians who don't care a hoot about their constituents. All they want to do is how to amass wealth. They believe that it's their opportunity to make money because, as they say, out of sight is out of mind. The moment you leave that place, you are gone forever. So
you have no other opportunity.
Yes, again.
So people think it's an opportunity to take care of yourself.
Exactly, for the future. And they believe that...
which is sad.
Yes. And that's why we always advise politicians to always have a second address. You don't... politics to many... I mean, should not be seen as a career. It should just be as a service. You should always have a career that you can fall back on. And it's not all of us that are lucky that way. I mean, when I finished my session in the House and I did not win well, I never contested because from where I came from, it's what we call it turn by turn.
Okay.
We rotate it. 4 local governments.
You are in AD.
AD at that time.
Which is your federal constituency?
Yeah, Iseyin, Tesiwaju,
okay.
Kajola, and Irepo. Yes,
okay.
4.
Okay. So 4 local governments. Right.
And the agreement is that each local government, I represented Iseyin.
Okay.
And as I was finishing, Kajola was waiting in the wings.
So there was no point.
No point to contest.
Just let go.
Yes. And what saved some of us was the fact that we had a second address. I still kept my hospital running. And even from my activity in the House, I attended so many conferences for NGOs in the areas of health, energy, environment, and all kind of thing. So when I finished I could even recollect that the moment I finished, and I mentioned to one of my colleagues that I wasn't going back. He was so happy. He said, "Oh, we have a job for you." And we got a job with the United States Information Service on how to enact this law against stigma for HIV victims. Okay. Yes, anti-stigma bill. Our duty was how to make sure that bill is passed in all West African countries. Okay. So I just started, so I didn't even feel that I finished everything. Unfortunately, the story is not like that for everybody. We have some of my colleagues who, when they finish their term and they didn't come back, things were not too good for them. So, I mean, I would put it as saying that it's important for politicians to always have a second address. I have something else to do on the side.
Yeah.
So that if you're not able to progress politically, you can go back to that. And then secondly, to say that I don't want to defend politicians because I'm a politician, but the truth of the matter is that we also need to do a lot of advocacy for those in our constituents, to let them know the limit of what their responsibility can do.
Yeah.
Because to them, many of them don't don't care a hoot. The amount of demand they put on their representative.
And I think it's because they think that, guys just go to Abuja to amass wealth. So why are they not getting a share of it?
Yeah. Well, it's not always true.
Of course.
Yeah, you will all, in any organization, in any situation, you always have those who say they are the bad eggs. And then, of course, because when I was there, I could vouch for some of my colleagues who are really hardworking, who really had the interest of the people at heart. Some of them even went extra mile to make sure they satisfy their constituents. But then we may have a few ones who didn't care anything about constituents, and I mean those are the ones that usually give politicians very bad image. Yes, but by and large, I think the achievements of politicians who, I mean, particularly those who represent their people, is always remarkable because when you go back to your constituents, you will see some of the activities. We're able to put in place some structures for the people, whether it's health centers or rural electrification, water boreholes, and all these things. These are some of the things that many of us were able to do. And I'm so happy that even when I go back to my constituency today, despite being out of office for more than 14 years, I'm still welcome. They are so happy to see me. And I always make sure to check some of the constituency projects that I put on ground, health centers, boreholes, and co. And I think it's not too bad for many, right, politicians.
Exactly. Okay, so I wanted you to also talk about some of the current things that is going on in the country. In the last several recent weeks, there's been these killings.
Yes.
It's not entirely new.
Yes.
The current nature of it, especially in Plateau and Benue. It seems, as a matter of fact, the governor of Plateau says this is a genocide, that is going on. And what is worrying me, is that it seems that if we're not careful how we deal with these problems, we might be robbed of our humanity.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, what's your take on some of these things?
Yes.
I mean, you are a humanist, you are a writer, you are an author.
Yes.
How do you think about these things?
Yes, thank you. This is an area where each time it happens, I feel so bad that I sometimes feel that, is there, maybe we can even ask for foreign help. I mean, if we can't handle these problems, because from my own perspective, I mean, they are all multifactorial. The issue of religious intolerance is there, ethnicity issues, and kind of thing. To the extent that we have had some reports of even some of our security agencies are betting this banditry, betting Boko Haram things. There was a news item just 2 days ago, where somebody, I think, was it not in Plateau again, where they vouched that they can confirm that some of our security forces even were aiding the bandits.
Complicity and collusion.
Yeah, and collusion. And some people believe that is why the Boko Haram insurgency issue has not ended. That some people are making money out of it. That it's become business as usual. And so that's why one time I even talked to one of the top-ranking military leader, security leaders, who was my friend, that, okay, now, why can't you just say, okay, we can't handle this. Let's call for help. There's nothing wrong. It's not against our laws. All you need to do is go to the National Assembly and say, look, we need military aid.
Foreign support.
Military support. And maybe that will be the way out, because the way things are going, it's like every day you hear stories of killings here and there. And it's very frustrating for our citizens. I imagine our leaders too, they were going through a difficult time. I mean, because the only thing they do every day is to send condolence messages, and I'm sure they will be saying, this is the only thing you are doing. So that's my own take. That we need
some foreign
support.
It's interesting because sitting on that chair on this show, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, I don't know whether you guys met, Right Honorable Yakubu Dogara.
Yes.
Made the same view that, if we need to have some foreign support to clear the mess, that should be done. And of course, you remember that President Goodluck Jonathan actually did that just ahead of the 2015 election to clear the situation in particularly Borno and the Northeast. Now, so the next question I wanted to ask you, still around that issue is that the people who are today in the National Assembly, I don't know whether you follow it.
Yes.
Do you think they understand their role? Many people have said that the National Assembly has become much of a rubber stamp. I mean, you were there 1999 to 2003 at the very beginning. You were in an opposition party, Alliance for Democracy. How do you compare, the kind of stuff that was going on then and now?
Well, again, we have to look at two issues now. We have to look at party supremacy. Again, we have to look at what some people consider to be, they feel that to be a good Nigerian, you want to make sure that you do everything by yourself. They don't want to involve foreigners. They don't want to involve anybody. So let's look at the issue of party supremacy. If you have a majority in the House, of a party in the House, the tendency is for that majority to toe the line of the party, the ruling party.
The ruling party, yeah.
And they believe that that is the way out. And that is why people look at them as if they are a rubber stamping body. I think all over the world, in the parliaments, yes, ruling parties usually have the way. They will say the minority will have their say, but the majority will have their way. And that will give that picture that, oh, these people have been too docile or something like that. So I think party supremacy is an issue. Again, the way to do it, I believe, is that the party, before coming to the representatives from the party that is in power, before coming to the parliament, like we normally do, we only have a caucus meeting and try to resolve issues before going and say, look, are we going to be loyal to Nigeria or are we going to be loyal to our party? Are there issues that are in conflict with our party's position that are detrimental to the future of this country? So at the caucus level, we have to resolve that before coming to the parliament. So that when we are passing our laws, we will not appear that we are a rubber stamping body. At the same time, we will not appear as if we are doing anything that is anti-party. So I think it's an issue that needs to be resolved in the caucus level before they come to the parliament. Then the second issue is, for me, I believe, if we can apply for and receive international loans from international bodies. There's nothing stopping us from also receiving help from international military organizations.
For the security
of our country.
But I wanted you to talk about opposition in the National Assembly. Because you were in opposition. How do you assess, because a lot of people, I mean, from what we see, it's as if there is no opposition left in the National Assembly. What's your view?
Well, I think what is happening again is that the opposition parties are weak in themselves. I recall when the Labour Party made an announcement that their members should not collect or should not receive the new vehicles to have bought for the members in the House. And their members just ignored that call and said, well, do you have alternative for us? We need to use this vehicle for our official. So I believe that the opposition parties themselves are in disarray and it's reflecting in the performance.
Yeah.
When I was in the House, like you said, that we're in a opposition party, our opposition party was solidly on ground. In fact, some people were even saying at that time that it was a glorious time to be in opposition, even though we didn't have all the perquisites that those but we always held meetings, and that was when we stood against the third time elongation plan at that time. It was the opposition party that stood against that.
True.
And were able to kill that plan.
True.
Because we had a strong, and then kudos to our party leaders at that time. The party leaders who were our leaders in our opposition parties were people of integrity, people who are solid, and who are principled too. So for me, I will put the blame on the opposition parties. They need to reorganize themselves. They need to find a way of making their members to reflect the views of the parties. But now people are, almost everybody is trying to join the ruling party.
The ruling party.
It means that...
Okay, because of our time, we wrap it up in a few minutes.
Yes.
Two quick things. I wanted you to, if you get the opportunity to advise our current president,
yes.
What are the issues that you will want him to tackle, or what will you say to him? Because he's going to be 2 years in office next month.
Yes. Well, just like we have been saying, security is a big issue. Let's look at this security issue. Our security men up to the task. Do they need some help? If so, let's ask for help. And then we also look at the issue of economy. Some of the statistics that are coming up seem to show that, from the IMF and World Bank position, they are happy with what is happening in Nigeria. Interestingly, they're saying that, things are picking up. But people are now saying, well, this picking up thing, the statistics are not reflecting on the life of people. Are we going to rely on the statistics from international financial bodies or about what is happening in the country? So we need to resolve that discrepancy. Right. And then, of course, power supply. Power supply is a big thing. Most countries now are going into alternative power sources. Let's look into this. I mentioned the solar power thing in Morocco, where almost 80% of the country is being run on solar. Let's look at all these aspects. I think for me, if you can resolve many of these things, then Nigeria can bounce back.
Right. All right, thank you so much. And I know that most of our audience will not believe that you are turning 70. I think you are about...
I've already turned 70. I was 70 last Monday.
You turned 70.
April 14th.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So how do you manage to still have this boyish look, even though you are just you are now 70?
70. 70 and 1 week.
So what's the secret?
Okay. Well, we thank God for everything. I think I've always been a sportsman. I went to medical school on sports scholarship from my university in Ife, and I still do some sports up to now. Now it's limited to only going for long walks, nothing physical. Yeah. And I try to make sure I reduce the stress that everybody is. Usually coming from Nigeria, sometimes I put off the the television when the news are all negative, so I can sleep.
Exactly, in peace.
Well, we think that we have to be hopeful, and I think that's the bottom line. Let's be optimistic, so that we don't get too worried and too depressed about what's
get stressed. Well, thank you so much. I also know that there's a new book that is coming up, Literature Across Borders, which is a collection of review of your work and tribute. We look forward to the public presentation.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for your services, as a medical doctor, a politician, a writer, and the work that you are doing in Accra as the Secretary General of Pan-African Writers Association. Very important assignment. I thank you so much also for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. Thank you so much.